Hey up, welcome to the Cannonall Farm podcast. With us, the Nicholson brothers, farmers Rob and Dave.
We're two Yorkshire farmers who, along with our dad Roger, brother Rich and the rest of our family, have turned a farm with 2 sheds and a barn into an award-winning tourist attraction.
You've seen us on telly, live on Facebook, and now we're here with our very own podcast.
Across this series, we'll be looking at the key moments that got Cannonall Farm to the place we're at today.
On today's episode, we're going to be looking back at some of the more challenging times we've had in the past.
Coming up.
But I'll never forget seeing all those schools cancel one after the other. We had an order book full of school visits, and within a few weeks it was empty. And I knew then this was something that was going to hit us for a long time going forward. Right, Dave, new episode of the podcast, but you're lucky to have me here. I've been full on driving the tractor, doing stuff you should be doing.
Well, I'm a little bit apprehensive about this, Rob. Is there any go faster stripes on me tractor? Have you hit any gate posts?
I've hit nothing. I've done plenty. And what I want to know is, when did tractors have wirelesses that worked, have air conditioning? It's an absolute doddle. I can see why you're stuck to that seat all the time.
Well, look, I'm just getting over my hernia operation. I mean, it is hot out there. You do need aircon.
Well, I've got my own air conditioning because I've got my legs out.
I can see that.
We've got every window open, and I'm still warm.
Them legs are something special. Do you shave them, or have you never grown any hairs?
Look, I've got hairs where it matters. I haven't actually.
He's hairless. Anyway, let's move on from that. So, Rob, you've enjoyed the tractor work?
It's an absolute doddle.
Well, I'm glad you've enjoyed it, Rob. And perhaps you can do a little bit more.
Don't you think you're waltzing back into this job?
Hey,
I'm loving it.
I've got a lot of recovery to do. You know, my hernias, it's a big operation. I've got to take it steady. I've not got to lift any heavy weights for 3 months. So, you know, you've got that job for a little bit longer.
Well, I've got a bad back because I've been carrying you for a long time.
I don't think so. I really don't think so. No way, I'm not having that. Anyway,
Absolutely carrying him.
What's this podcast today all about, Rob?
Right, well, today we're delving in to adversity. You're going through adversity at the moment, and we've been through our fair share of difficulties over the years. So, Dave, we're talking about adversities that we've faced over the years. I think the first one was foot and mouth. The year 2000, I was on holiday in Disney, the holiday of a lifetime. I got the newspaper, and bearing in mind we got them 24 hours after they were published, Britain gripped by foot and mouth outbreak, and I thought, oh my goodness me, I knew it was a big deal.
Well, I thought it'd just be one of those regional little blips. They'd kind of lock it down and everything was going to be pretty much okay. But, you know, after a week, you know, I had other open farms phoning up. What are you going to do? You know, they were asking advice. It was just a really difficult, tough time.
It's a Pandora's box, isn't it? Once people start looking, and they did look, they found other animals with the disease, and it soon became clear this wasn't going to be a small thing. It was nationwide. It was a countrywide crisis, and it was a crisis for us.
Well, we didn't get any help from the government, Rob. I remember, you know, we were wanting advice. What do we do? Do we close? Do we stay open? You know, and I remember having the conversation with you and Dad. You were in America, and my dad saying, we have to look after our neighbours. We need to close the farm and stop any, you know, risk of infection to any of our neighbouring farms and our own. So that's what we did.
I think that plane's going to land on us, Dave. It's very close.
We're noisy.
I think in a situation like that, the government were making it up as they were going along. You know, they hadn't prepared for it. They weren't expecting it. And it was a case of doing the right thing for our neighbours, for the farming community, and we didn't want to be the people that let our industry down. We knew we had to shut. We knew we had to keep the countryside safe. And it was just something that we had to grit our teeth and get on and do.
I remember, Rob, you know, all the footpaths were closed. People stopped walking in the countryside. But, you know, the government didn't quite get it right, and that disease just kept on spreading up and down the country.
I think the problem was people thought by staying away from the countryside, they were keeping us safe. But the danger was animal to animal contact was causing the disease to spread. So really, the footpath walking made no difference. It was all about keeping your stock away from your neighbours, making sure that you weren't the person that passed it on to someone who may have invested their life in creating a bloodline that was irreplaceable. And a lot of animals were lost, and they were irreplaceable.
All those rare breeds, Rob. You know, the people had invested a lifetime's work into those bloodlines, and then all of a sudden they were gone forever.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking seeing the pyres, the piles of burning animals as you drove up and down the motorway. The smell was acrid. It was something that I never thought I would see in my lifetime.
Well, that's one of the things they got wrong, because the smoke and the ash spread the disease. You know, the wind patterns, you could see where the disease was going.
The thing from our point of view is people stopped coming.
Yeah.
Therefore, all the schools that we got booked in, all the family visits that would have taken place didn't. And it was an incredibly tough time financially, but we knew it needed to be done. But I'll never forget seeing all those schools cancel one after the other after the other. We had an order book full of school visits, and within a few weeks it was empty. And I knew then this was something that were gonna hit us for a long time going forward.
I remember walking up the yard on a weekend, where, you know, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when normally it was busy with, you know, families looking at the animals, playing on the playground, and it was like a ghost town. There was nobody there. I mean, financially, we were struggling. I was having a patio put down outside my house. I ended up finishing it off all by myself because we just didn't have the money to spend on anything.
You're right, Dave. It was a ghost town, but at least our animals were safe.
Yeah.
Seeing the people on the television who'd lost the livestock, years of selective breeding, years of work, basically wiped out in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, I remember seeing farmers in tears. They'd lost all the dairy herd. You know, everything was gone. You know, they were left with the farm dog. You know, and all that investment, all that hard work, just to see it, well, literally go up in smoke, it must have been absolutely terrible for people.
I suppose something like a dairy farmer, you're working with those cows twice a day for long periods, aren't you? They become your friends, your work colleagues. They are your life's work, and to see it all wiped out in one moment is an intolerable thing to happen.
But, I mean, I remember this guy saying, you know, there's going to be Arctics coming down the road. There's going to be cows back in those fields. And, you know, I'm going to try my best to get back to what we had before.
Well, coming out of the foot and mouth outbreak, it was a long time before we got back to normal. But the bit that really helped us was the fact that we'd focused on the farm shop. We'd worked hard at bringing forward new products. And we really started to fly. We actually won an award for tourism.
Well, we did, yeah. I mean, you got to remember, though, Rob, all this time, I mean, it took a long time to get back to normal, but we had disinfectant mats down. People were walking through disinfectant to get into the shop, and then they walked through disinfectant to get back out of it. You know, the place never smelled as clean. You know, Poppy was going to school smelling a disinfectant. My wife worked at college, and she was smelling a disinfectant all day long. You know, it was, well, it was just a bit of a weird time.
I suppose it was a small price to pay to try and keep things safe and to try and stop the disease in its tracks, but it was a long haul. The one thing I do remember is the tourism awards at the end of that year. We'd lost our category. We weren't announced as winners, and we were all feeling a little bit sorry for ourselves. And then they announced us as winners of a special award for tourism for actually growing the business throughout the pandemic, and that was thanks to the farm shop.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't expect that to happen. We didn't really expect to win that award because there were some big names up there. It was a really special time. My dad went up, made a speech. He was a little bit nervous, but he got a really, really good round of applause at the end. and he said, buy British, support your farm shops. You know, he got the message out there.
I think that we've always been looked after by the general public, by our customers, and when we've needed them, they've come through for us. And I think there's a lot of support, a lot of goodwill towards farming, and people had our back during that period, and we bounced back quickly once we were able to.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we've always done. When we're in trouble, we always think of a way to get out of it, you know, because the bills still have to be paid. Yeah, you know, and we concentrated on the farm shop to try and, well, to get an income.
I think we could see what a devastating impact foot and mouth had, but who knew that COVID was going to hit us like it did? And I think the only thing that helped in any way was the progress of technology. You know, the fact that we got social media, we got means of communicating, means of keeping in touch with loved ones. That did make a difference.
Well, I still can't believe it happened. You know, there were people, when the lockdown actually did happen, they were stuck in their houses. They were only allowed out for an hour's walk a day. Just think how horrendous that would have been for everybody. You not be able to go for a walk, you know, in the countryside.
I think March the 18th, 2020, is a date that will always stick with me. It was my wedding anniversary. It was the day my first grandchild was born, Nellie. And not to be able to hold her and play a proper part in her upbringing for the first 6 months was something that will always stick with me. But the fact is, we came through it. We found a way, and she's happy now, and she starts school in September.
Wow, well, that's really leaping forward, isn't it? I mean, I remember we all went into the office when the lockdown was mentioned. We didn't think it would be that long, really, and we're thinking, right, how can we, you know, keep this farm running? Because we've got a lot of staff. There's 250 people on the books. You know, they're not all full-time. There's a lot of students there. But we've got a lot of regular wages that we needed to support the people that work with us.
The problem that we had, again, was a lack of maybe leadership from the top, and it was left to us to decide when we should shut the business, because we wanted to keep people safe. We wanted to keep our team members safe and our neighbours. So it felt the right thing to do to shut the farm. But as I stood on the roundhouse steps and made a broadcast on social media saying that's what we were doing, it didn't feel real. It didn't feel normal. And who'd have thought that 150 days later, we were still going to be shut and still doing daily broadcasts?
Yeah, I do feel for people at that time. You know, we had a lot of support. People were enjoying your live broadcasts. There was a lot of love coming our way because you were showing, you know, our family farm, our animals, you know, the new life coming into this world. And people were really looking forward to it. You know, they were, you know, setting their alarms. They were getting up early. They were watching, you know, us go about our daily life, really.
I think the reason for broadcasting every day at 7:30 was because it gave us something to do, a compass point, you know, something that we knew we could do and make a difference to other people in terms of their well-being. It gave us a structure to the day. It meant that all the lambs that were being born, all the goats that were being born, the cows that were calving, weren't lost, because we're used to sharing our animals and experiences with the people that visit. No one could visit, but we could visit them, and that's thanks to technology. Just
last week, we had a chat from Australia come over, a couple. They were watching on social media. A lady from Canada just the other day came over. You know, it's strange that people are actually travelling that far because this place means so much to them.
I think at that time, we were something in their lives that gave them hope and entertainment and yeah, it's humbling to think that we played a role in keeping people
keeping the mental health,
certainly keeping the spirits up,
yeah, exactly,
and giving them something to look forward to and a compass point in the day. If that Joe Wicks hadn't gone on at 9:30, I'd have been still going at 10:30.
Yeah, your battery would have failed.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I enjoyed about lockdown is we were going around all the site, trying to sell everything we could from the White Bull in the farm shop, but there's one or two things we couldn't sell, and that were the barrels of lager, Rob. So I used to go up there and just have a couple of pints. It was like a day out, but in.
Yeah. No, we were lucky. We were the lucky ones because we were busy. We were able to make a difference. We were able to support people, and that made you feel good. But there are people out there who couldn't do anything, couldn't go anywhere. They were effectively under house arrest, and it must have been a really miserable time. And for us to be able to support them and give them just a little chink of light was a nice thing to be able to do.
I think one of the great things that came out of it was our supporters group, Rob. We gave them extra content, extra lives, and then in return, I think it was about £3.50, and I think it still is, a month. And what a great little community that is.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to be able to set up a supporters group right at the start of lockdown. And without those people, buying merchandise, paying the subscriptions, and really supporting us with everything we did, we wouldn't be where we are today. They were our saviours and still are. We can never repay them.
Yeah. Because
of the supporters, we actually got to the TV Choice Awards and incredibly lifted the trophy. It's all down to them.
It was a great night. I went round, me, you and Tim Bilton, we had a little contest. Who could get the most selfies with famous people? And I think you won, actually.
I don't think I did. But I know Denise Van Outen got fed up of you following her around.
Rob, I had one picture with Denise Van Outen, right? I was a big fan of The Big Breakfast.
Fair enough, Dave. And you still like your breakfast to this day.
There's nothing wrong with a big breakfast.
Exactly.
It starts the day.
So really, though, those supporters dug us out. They bailed us out when we needed it, and we will be forever in the debt.
Well, we still are, Rob. Every now and again, they come to our help, and they're a great bunch of people.
I'll never forget the last live broadcast that I did, the 150th in a row. It was quite a poignant moment because Nellie appeared on the broadcast, and I cast my mind back to the first one, the day she was born, and the change that had happened over those 150 days. We'd gone from the dark, we were coming out into the light. It felt a lot more positive. I think we knew then we were nearly there.
I mean, you can only go on so many Zooms, can't you? I couldn't go and see my daughter in Manchester. So it was a really special time. That lockdown finishing, it was a
breath of fresh air.
Exactly.
I think sometimes you have to experience the dark days to really appreciate the good ones. And I think that's what the lockdown was for me. You appreciated more the things that you had, the simple things in life, just being able to get outside, have a walk, and have the sun on your back. We were lucky people.
I mean, the one thing that we haven't really touched on was the lockdown gave us the chance to get on with This Week on the Farm. We'd done one programme a year, Springtime on the Farm, but when the actual lockdown came and we finished the 6 little episodes by ourselves with Dale, the cameraman, we had a script to follow, and at the end we said, let's do another version like we do on Facebook. The channel liked it, and we got to do how many episodes of telly in a year?
I think we did 35 one-hour programmes in 12 months. And without Dale turning his hand from using a muck shovel to a camera and being able to edit stuff and interpret stuff, we would not have got that chance. So really, the opportunities we've had are largely down to Dale. So,
well, don't tell him.
Well done, Dale.
He might want a pay rise, Rob.
Yeah, you're right, Dave. The 2 biggest things we've ever had to contend with are the foot and mouth outbreak and the pandemic. And without our customers to guide us through and bring us out the other side, we could have been finished with either of them.
Well, let's not forget we've got a great team behind us as well. Without them and our customers, we wouldn't be here. So credit to everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cannon Hall Farm podcast.
So we're going to be back next time, Rob, for the final episode of the series.
And we'll be looking at what the future could hold for our family farm.
If you've enjoyed the series so far, don't forget to follow us on your podcast provider.
And leave us a rating while you're there.
5 stars, please.
Anyway, that's it for this episode. I've been Farmer Rob.
I've been Farmer Dave.
Thanks for watching. See you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Do you think you'll want a fair rise?
I don't think he'll have heard. I think we're all right.